In this video, we take a look at advice from 3 well-known asset managers to find out exactly how much you need to retire comfortably in South Africa. We also discuss retirement milestones and how to know if you're on track, what percentage of your salary you should be saving each month, and if there's anything you can do to catch up if you're behind. One of the foundational steps to secure your future is gaining a clear understanding of your financial needs after retirement. The harsh reality is that most South Africans simply can't afford to retire, not at 65 anyway, but we're here to help you change that. So exactly how much money do you need for a comfortable retirement in South Africa?
Our first retirement savings goal estimate is based on advice from Fidelity Investments, one of the world's largest asset managers. According to Fidelity, the rule of thumb is to save 10 times your annual income if you want to retire by age 65 and maintain your current lifestyle. With a monthly salary of 30,000 Rand, for example, or 360,000 Rand annually, this means you need to have 3.6 million Rand saved for retirement. Bear in mind, this figure is quoted in today's terms, or in other words, based on the value of the money today. Because of inflation, this target will obviously increase each year. And of course, in order to achieve this 10 times annual income figure, Fidelity make a number of assumptions relating to the rate of return you can get, what the inflation number is, and how long the average person will live for after retirement. They also look at something called the replacement ratio. Most financial planners have traditionally worked on a replacement ratio of 75%, which means that your income after retirement will drop to 3/4 of what it was before retirement. So your 30,000 Rand monthly salary, in this case, becomes 22,500 Rand when you retire. The reason for this is first and foremost to stretch and preserve your pension fund capital for as long as possible. But when you retire, you can generally also get by with a lower income. And that's in large part because you no longer need to make retirement contributions, which are generally a big chunk of your salary. On top of that saving, you also pay less tax as a retiree. You no longer have traveling costs to and from work, your home should now be paid for, and your kids are most likely out of the house. All of this means that in theory, you should be able to drop your income to 75% of the level it was before you retired.
The second retirement savings goal we're showcasing is from Discovery. Their recommendation is to have 200 times your monthly salary saved, and that works out to around 16 years worth of capital as opposed to Fidelity's 10 years. So using the same 30,000 Rand per month as before, Discovery estimates that we need 6 million Rand saved for retirement in today's terms. Or in other words, 6 million Rand adjusted for inflation. Discovery also based their retirement estimate on a replacement ratio of 75%, so your monthly income will need to be reduced by the same 25% industry standard when you retire. But it's clear that their estimates regarding potential returns and the impact of inflation are more conservative, or in other words, a bit more realistic.
Our third retirement goal is set by 91, formerly known as Investec Asset Management, a well-known global asset manager. They suggest that in order to retire comfortably, we need to have saved a capital sum of 20 times the value of our final annual salary. So using the same 30,000 Rand salary, we need to have saved a lump sum of 7.2 million Rand in order to retire comfortably. Now that's a pretty big number, but before you lose hope, it's worth pointing out a few key assumptions here. First, the scenario plans for your funds to last for 30 years post-retirement, and this is longer than the average life expectancy in South Africa, so it might be more than you need. Second, this approach is based on a replacement ratio of 100%, which means that in the scenario we don't take any drop in income whatsoever when we retire. We continue to receive our full pre-retirement salary. The benefit here, of course, is that you have more disposable income to spend the way you want. Maybe you'd like to start traveling or take on a new hobby. After all, retirement is supposed to be about enjoying life and living it the way you want, so the extra income here really comes in handy. Another consideration is medical expenses. These are quite likely to go up dramatically as you age, and so with a higher replacement ratio, you can rest assured you have sufficient income to cover the increased bills that are sure to come.
Okay, so now that we've spoken about how big your pension fund needs to be at retirement, let's address how much you should be saving each month. We're going to look at 3 quick scenarios. If you start saving for retirement at age 25, you'll need to save 15% of your salary for a period of 40 years. At age 65, you'll end up with 20 times your annual salary and pension capital. If you start saving 10 years later at age 35, you'll need to save 30% of your monthly salary for the 30 years until retirement age. You'll still reach your goal of 20 times annual salary saved at age 65, but you'll need to carry the burden of having to save double the monthly pension fund contribution as compared to starting 10 years earlier. And finally, if you start saving 20 years later at age 45, you'll need to save 60% of your monthly salary for 20 years until retirement. Clearly, this is not realistic for most people. And this is why prioritizing saving is so incredibly important. If you can exercise the discipline to save money from your first paycheck and never dip into your pension fund if you change jobs, you'll maximize the compound growth effect on your capital.
Okay, so now that we know how much we need at retirement and we know what percent of our salary we should be saving each month, let's look at how we can measure our progress on the road to retirement. Here is a chart with some milestones to work towards. The blue line represents a 100% replacement ratio. So based on that, by age 30, you should have saved 1 times your annual salary if you want to meet the 100% replacement ratio goal. By age 45, you should have saved 5 times your annual salary, and by age 55, you should aim to save 10 times your salary. Again, these milestones will ensure that you achieve a 100% replacement ratio. In other words, your pension income will not decrease when you retire. The chart also has a second line, the green line, which represents a 75% replacement ratio. So if you're not able to meet the milestones of the blue 100% line, you can still shoot for the green line. Even though you won't be quite as comfortable at retirement, you will still be able to retire with a high degree of confidence.
Now, we understand that many of our viewers may not be on track with your retirement goals. We know that life is difficult, and the last thing we want is for you to be disillusioned and give up hope. The reality is that if you're watching this video, you're already leaps and bounds ahead of the average person in South Africa because you are thinking about your retirement and actively trying to work on it. It's important to understand that it's never too late to start saving for retirement. But by the same token, if you are behind schedule, you are going to need to find a way to accelerate your savings. Fortunately, there are solutions to do just that. There are ways to fast-track your capital accumulation goals, and if done with the proper planning and discipline, you absolutely can reduce the number of years you need to retire. Now, if you're serious about fast-tracking your retirement, we strongly suggest that you watch this video where we discuss the new 2-pot retirement system in South Africa. See you over there.